Ah, alright. What actually happened when the Emperor killed Horus? Uh, alright. For everyone, that's been here for quite some time now, you guys, at least some of our hardcore chatters and commenters have told me that that I've always thought that the literary franchise of the 40k series has been mid. Right? I honestly prefer the Warhammer fantasy side of novels. Right now I'm going through Gotrek and Felix, and the thing is, Horus Rising and then falls after Horus Rising falls gods. It simply wasn't doing it for me. It simply wasn't ringing my bell. It simply wasn't, getting my rocks off in terms of um books or literary enjoyment. So I never really got to that part where Horus comes in with his traitor legions to Terra to finally get rid of Big E once and for all. I mean, we've gotten like a ton of updates. Like Gilliman is about to meet it's Lionel Johnson, right? Lionel the Lion is coming back. Brother, we need to talk. So anyways, before we go off into that other rabbit hole, why don't we go back from the beginning and just figure out what exactly happened when the Emperor killed Horus? What exactly happened when Big E got rid of the conduit of chaos, the linchpin, like the what you call lightning rod of chaos to this particular reality. Here we go again, you guys. Like it if you do, subscribe. Big E knows we need it.
G'day, guys and gal. We got some really interesting lore from the first Scouring book that turned everything we thought about the Chaos Gods upside down. Okay, that's a bit dramatic, but
I'm sorry. But in that illustration, I honestly see Donald Trump. I honestly see Donald Trump.
was super interesting.
Anyways.
Namely, that the Horus Heresy wasn't just some fun little tee-hee game the Chaos Gods played out of boredom. They were all in, and when the Emperor slew Horus, the Chaos Gods had a really, really bad time, which resulted in all of Chaos having a bad time. Think about it. The traitor legions were pushing into the final loyalist stronghold. The Golden Throne was about to explode. There were demons everywhere. The warp had basically consumed Terra. Even with the arrival of Gilliman, that was one fleet and legion against multiple traitor legions. It should have still been in the traitors' favor, if not somewhat even. Instead, what we got was wholesale slaughter. Traitor Space Marine veterans fleeing in terror and being mowed down like pigs. So for the turnaround to be so dramatic, what actually happened when Horus died? Did the Chaos Gods themselves nearly...
I mean, he was the conduit. Horus was the conduit of all that is evil. He was the conduit of chaos coming to full fruition. That the moment the plan was, as far as I believe, based on my knowledge of all the tidbits that have been crammed into me, like since the past year since we began with Bricky. There was supposed to be this cataclysmic event that the moment Horus kills the Emperor, I don't know, some big explosion, and that chaos would finally um merge with reality or something. I mean, to my mind, that exactly was what was meant to happen if he kills Big E, but apparently it never happened. So yeah.
die. Before we get started, guys and gal, I'm just gonna say it. Being ugly is a choice. For 99% of people, if you genuinely take care of your grooming, health, style, and hygiene, you will not be ugly. However, some of these things take a lot of time, effort, or money.
Just, take care of your diet, get rid of that bloating in your face, and, have a decent toner. You should be fine, actually. And work out there. Go to the gym. Work out every now and then. I promise you will look completely different.
So let's start with the low-hanging fruit. The easiest and highest impact thing you can do to cease your ugliness is skincare. So I'm partnered with Geology today to give you the cheat code to the best damn skincare products without obliterating your bank account. This was me at 21 before I started taking skincare seriously and using Geology. I had dark circles under my eyes, oily skin, blotchy discolored skin, was often puffy, and would get annoying acne. Now I'm 27.
I think he's what?
And I think my skin looks better. How? Well,
I think he's just being
geology uses only science-backed stuff.
I mean, he
like
looks
cinamide,
good.
retinols, salicylic acid, and more. If you don't know what any of those are, ask a girl or ChatGPT, and they'll validate the hell out of them. But how does this
That was totally uncalled for. But then again, I have had moments when I tried to explain Warhammer 40k or Warhammer to girls. And like yes, that he's right. He's right. Because I find myself sometimes explaining it Warhammer to a girl, and maybe I should stop now. I mean, we are literally drying up her. Not, it would definitely dry up some coochie. So yeah, boys, keep it to yourself. I mean, some girls like it when you literally go into your passion. Or when you talk passion, when you show passion for some things, but 99.9% of the time, I mean, it's the same as sports. Like when I try to explain, MMA, why Pacquiao Mayweather fight, like, during the pre-pandemic era dictated the next 20 years of boxing or something. Yeah, I mean, some girls like it, but most girls don't. Alright, so it will only lead to dry coochie by the end of the night, and you will not get anything. So, keep it neutral. Apart from taking care of yourself, keep the conversations neutral. Try to slip it in every now and then, but keep it neutral, alright?
in voodoo work?
That
After
was
all, us
totally
guys know
uncalled
skincare
for.
is good, but we are cavemen when it comes to knowing what to use. Geology understands this, so it simply asks you to fill out a quick survey, then bam, your very own custom skincare routine sent to your door. Geology also has an awesome range of body washes, shampoos, deodorants, pimple patches, and more. So to get a massive 80% off your custom skincare set, then use my link and code Majorkill80. Geology is also now on Amazon, so if that's how you like to shop, then there you go. I have a discount link for that as well. Cheers to Geology for sponsoring this video. Today we'll go over the moment-by-moment events that occurred straight after Horus's death to truly understand the impact it had and why the loyalists were able to turn a certain...
Alright, so we're gonna get a review as to what exactly happened during the landing on Terra. And what exactly happened, because me personally, as far as I know, Emperor kills Horus. I forgot who basically put him on the throne. He said, no, now there was like a misunderstanding that he didn't want to be on the throne or something. And then, some of the Primarchs decided to chase after the traitors. Like, Jagatai Khan went after the Webway. Went into the Webway, never to be seen again, that kind of stuff. So, I guess we get a review for tonight. And yeah, I'm starting to like this video.
Into a crushing victory. Also, shout out to Alex Christie for the incredible thumbnail artwork for this video. You can download this artwork in full resolution for free on my Patreon. Link is below. Let's get into it.
Alright.
First, we actually need to understand the absolute reversal that was the death of Horus. Like, it was wild. Imagine you're a trader, whether space marine or cultist or whatever. You've been fighting on Terra for months. It has been fucking grueling. Every meter of land you have claimed was paid for by the blood of thousands. But it's been worth it. Your moment of triumph. For you to be standing at this moment, you would have had to have killed many people. Maybe even a space marine. Maybe even a custodian. You would have bared witness to Primarch Jules, the birthplace of humanity, burn. Now the final gates of the loyalists were crumbling. You feel unstoppable. There are demons the size of skyscrapers ripping spires apart. The loyalists are few and barely holding on, attacked on all sides. This is it. This is...
You know what I think? Sanguinius is overrated. Fight me.
Nothing. It's over in a heartbeat. The moment Horus is slain by his father, which we'll cover in a bit, you instantly know you've lost. A psychic shockwave rips through across the soul system and instantly obliterates the warp as soon as it hits. I'm not talking like demons start fading and the warp begins receding. I'm talking one moment it's there, the next it isn't. The massive demons are instantly obliterated, as are their legions. If you're a demon host or a possessor...
So it's as if in a flash, everything disappears. What was that? Stephen Jackson, creator of the Lord of the Rings franchise. He made this Is it Stephen Jackson? Hold on. Anyways, Jackson. Peter Jackson. I'm so sorry. Stephen Jackson is an old NBA player. Peter Jackson. Wait, hold on. Hold on. I can't believe I forgot who made Lord of the Rings. Peter Jackson. I was right. All right, not Stephen Jackson. Peter Jackson, right? And his whatchamacallit? This documentary slash film, They Shall Not Grow Old. There was this very poignant scene at the end of the war. And the way he presented the end of the war, the way it was presented, or the way that the veterans described it, there wasn't like, this grand battle. There wasn't this defining moment in history that people were killing each other. There was no grand charge. There was no grand or great melee. It was described like the way I describe it. It was as if someone just let out the air all of the room. And the way they talked about it when the time came, when the time actually came, when the war was officially declared, that the war was officially declared to be over, it felt more like they were laid off. At least that's how it feels. That's what the soldiers were trying to relay when they tried to describe the feeling that the war was finally over. That it felt like they were simply laid off and it was time to go home. There was no grand celebration, no great cheering. They just simply walked back home. That's it. Time to go home. That's it. No great cheering yet. No VE Day, no victory over Japan Day. That was like a few days later. But in that particular war, First World War, and the film by Peter Jackson, the way they describe it is that it was simply time to go home. Like it was over. Like there was no massive, yeah, war is over. No, everyone just sort of started walking around. Maybe it's time to go home now. That was it. So I guess same thing here. When Horus got killed, there was this giant ass retreat that everyone just needed to get out of here as fast as we can, and then the first crusade happened. Or something. But anyways, let's keep on going.
Marine, the demon within you instantly vanishes, leaving you hollow. All sorcery dries up completely. Like if you were magically flying at the time, you were just going to drop and splatter on the pavement. Now you may think that dozens of thousands of traitor marines with their millions of cultists could still finish the job without the warp. After all, they still outnumbered the loyalists by a long shot, and usually, yeah, they could. However, pretty much all remaining traitors on Terra had drank a shitload of Chaos Kool-Aid. They were all bloated by the warp and were using it as a crutch.
No, they couldn't. They couldn't. There was an analysis that all of those personalities, Fulgrim and the others, that Horus was simply this very thin layer of glue holding everyone together, and without him, the whole thing simply wouldn't happen. The other traitor primarchs had no reason to be there because they had to do their own thing. They wanted to do their own thing, and Horus simply gave them a singular purpose. After that, it was a mess. So there was no point for them to stay.
Dirk Rage of the World Eaters was fueled by Khorne, the uncanny resistance of the Death Guard was fueled by Nurgle, and so
there
on.
We go.
Even those that had avoided Chaos gifts were still seeped in the warp without even realizing it. So when that shockwave hit, the traitors were literally kicked in the balls with the force of 1,000 suns. In an instant, their morale broke as they knew Horus had died. They all became exhausted, their will to fight evaporated. They were basically having the mother of all come downs that hit them instantly, going from 1,000% to negative 100% in a
Is that
single moment.
Rabo or Angron? I honestly can't tell. Like I said, I'm still, despite, that we've been at this for a year, I still believe that I'm a rookie, that, I can't even distinguish Perturabo and Angron.
The withdrawal of the warp gave them strength, as
them.
did the relighting of the Astronomicon. So whilst the defenders sallied forward and vented their wrath upon the traitors, butchering them like pigs, the Ultramarines also arrived in orbit and began drop-podding in and brutalizing the traitors from the rear. It was the mother of all spit roasts, and boy was it glorious. All the traitors could think about was escape and survival. They were all shocked and didn't quite understand how the reversal could be so sudden and brutal. All they knew as it happened. If you want to know why Chaos...
I'm guessing there was this some sort of shock wave, and the best I could liken it to, or the best I could, juxtapose it to, is that scene in Indiana Jones, and where they open the thing, where they open the chest. What do you call Indiana Jones? And when they open the chest, there was a shock wave, and everyone felt it. What was it again? But anyways, comments please.
Like a non-factor for the galaxy for almost 10,000 years after the heresy, it's because of this brutalization of their legions, followed by the equally brutal scouring. Okay, so that's the effect Horus's death had on the legions, and why the counterattack of the Loyalists was so brutal and effective. However, what impact did Horus's death have on the Warp and Chaos itself? Did it actually almost kill the Chaos Gods? Well, yeah. See, the Chaos Gods really wanted to cuck the Emperor, as he was the only...
So it was the conduit, like I was saying earlier, as far as I believe, based on what I've what we've gathered, like, for the past roughly almost 2 years now, if I'm not mistaken. No, this is our third year, or was it officially our second? I'm not really sure. Is that they're the conduit, like Horus was an anchor. He was a conduit of their existence here on, or at least, in the mortal plane or in reality. So it was definitely going to hurt if he gets killed.
Entity in the galaxy at that time that could threaten them, so they had to risk it for the biscuit. They couldn't manifest in real space properly, no matter how warpy it got, so they had to infuse Horus with a huge chunk of their power, enough power to be able to defeat the Emperor. Now the Primarchs
I'm guessing it's the equivalent of getting an arm cut off.
Every time the Emperor has gone up against them, it's been laughably one-sided. He knocked Lehman out with a single punch, he forced Lorgar and his entire legion to kneel, he knocked out Angron with a single thought. Primarchs were honestly child's play for him. So for Chaos to empower Horus to a point where
he was winning until the very end.
The Emperor took an insane amount of investment. However, despite all this investment, Horus still possessed a will of his own, a will the Emperor used to trick Horus into temporarily releasing the power Chaos gave him. Now the Chaos Gods took this as an insult and wanted to let the Emperor teach Horus a lesson before they gave Horus their power back and allowed him to...
That was hubris, by the way, when Horus decided to take on Big E without their help. I mean, the whole thing was a mistake, right? Because based on what we've learned, Horus decided to turn traitor because, let's not give the Emperor a chance to discard us. We have to turn traitor. We have to hit him before he hits us, which honestly didn't make any sense. And, I haven't read into it that far as to, discover how exactly he came up with that conclusion that he needed to get rid of the Emperor first before he gets rid of us. He was the favorite. He was the favored son as the War Master in Horus Rising. And he still was in the second installment in False God. So yeah. Again, Gotrek and Felix
finish the job. However, they then realized the Emperor had the Athame, the only weapon that could kill Horus, and cuck them. So in a panic, they try to flood Horus with their power again. It was during this panicked moment that the Emperor plunged the stone Athame knife into Horus and slew him, causing emotional damage to Chaos as they were completely vulnerable and blindsided. Honestly, it couldn't have been a worse time for Horus to die. The damage to Chaos was insane. The gods were banished screaming back to the warp, so wounded that most people, including their followers, believed them to be dead. The blowback was so intense that all warp activity instantly ceased, including normal psychic powers from librarians, even loyalist ones. There are large chunks of the book which detail and go about the various attempts to summon demons or use warp powers. The most we see is a loyalist librarian summoning a small spat of lightning during an intense moment, and he was actually one of the most powerful psychics in the galaxy at the time, and a group of wordbearers managed to summon one small pathetic demon through great effort, who basically tells them that Chaos has been cucked and needs time to heal. There is actually a big subplot about how the traitors want to try show the loyalists that Chaos still lives, so that the loyalists will viciously hunt them, thus feeding the warp with their hatred and healing the Chaos Gods faster. Ironically showing that the best method for dealing with Chaos is to just basically ignore it. Man, the Emperor may actually have been pretty on the money there. However, what other things occurred when Horus died, since now we know what happened to the traitors on Terra as well as the Chaos Gods? Well, mere moments after Horus died, the Emperor's mighty will finally gave out and he collapsed, literally holding himself together for this final act to save mankind. Now there is actually a good chance he would have somewhat regenerated, even despite many parts of him being permanently destroyed. However, he was almost immediately placed upon the golden throne, which began frying his balls. This scene was actually pretty sad.
Yeah, see, that we know of. I couldn't remember who was blamed for. Was it Lionel Johnson who was blamed for it? Because he said, supposedly, the Emperor said no. but he mistook it for now. And then, they sat his ass on the throne. But anyway, so I guess we were right that Horus was meant to be the conduit, and the only thing stopping him or keeping him from, unleashing from unleashing chaos, or from chaos merging with reality, is Big E himself. So it backfired on them, and yeah, this is what we have
The Emperor
now.
knew that he had to sit on the Golden Throne, but he also knew this would damn him to an eternity of torment. It's kind of like the scene where Dumbledore was with Harry hunting for the Horcruxes,
There
and
we
Dumbledore
go.
drank the disgusting water, knowing he had to do it, but was begging Harry to let him stop. The Emperor knew he had to do it, but he knew he was going to have a terrible time. So the Emperor told Rogel to take him to the throne, but when they got there, the Emperor tried to pull away, Rogel remarking he had never seen horror and fear like this on his father's face until then. Now the traitors had actually taken pretty much all the planets in the solar system, and funnily enough, the traitors that did not step foot on Terra maintained their sanity and will, as when the warp shockwave hit, they didn't have anything really to lose. The retaking of Luna was especially difficult for the Loyalists, as the warriors defending it weren't chaos sluts or raving madmen, but disciplined sons of Horus, men with nothing to lose and whose only purpose was to inflict maximum damage, and boy did they do some damage. Likewise, Mars was going to be a tough nut to crack, although I wonder how much of their corrupted systems would have been wiped out when the Chaos Gods got licked. It does seem like the next scouring book will focus on Mars, with the Loyalist
See, this is I guess this is one of the reasons why I haven't honestly seen the numbers yet, but this could probably be the reason why 40K in terms of story is ahead in this whole thing. Because if we're familiar with Pancreas no works well work. He says, regardless, one of the things that turns him off in the old world and playing old world is that regardless of what happens, it's like they already know the ending. It's like the Bible, we already know the ending. So you've got, old world, fantasy proper, end times, and then Age of Sigmar. Age of Sigmar seems to be like, the most popular of the series for the simple reason that it hasn't ended yet. Because old world, you know what happens, and fantasy proper, you know what happens, and then end times, yeah. The only age, or the only version that has yet to be resolved about the game is Age of Sigmar. Whereas in 40K, we are still looking at the origins up until now. This is the origins of 40K. And it is still developing. Yes, millennia, tens and thousands of years have passed after the origins. If we're still looking at the origins of 40K, this is why it's so important. This is why we keep going back to this. And the story after the origin is still ongoing, and the origin is yet to be rehashed because because of stuff getting retconned. Like the lion's about to meet um Gilliman. So yeah, this is like one of the reasons why why a lot of people believe that it's still ahead in terms of actual story, because fantasy story is already finished, right? The last installment, which is Age of Sigmar, they could probably add more. I don't know, put a new god up there or something. But the thing is, they're at the end of the road in terms of story. But in 40K, it's still here. Basically, we're still going through, at least we're still in the middle of the road. We have no idea what will happen yet, but this is how it's happened. We're simply looking at its origins right now. So no, I'm sorry. It's just something I thought of, or no, I gave it some thought because we have our our playtime weekends, and I ran into some guys who were demoing Old World, which is quite rare, because the most popular system right now in terms of Warhammer Fantasy is AOS, or Age of Sigmar, and I was honestly surprised that I saw a couple of guys demoing Old World. Anyways.
Primarch's keen to get involved. Now, something really interesting was another side plot involving the Iron Warriors and the Wordbearers. A group of Iron Warriors and Wordbearers that escaped Terra landed on a moon in the Sol system that still seemed to be able to maintain some warp presence via mass sacrifice rituals.
But anyways, I'm thinking about it now. Like, our thoughts have been confirmed that, yeah, again, we all know that Horus was a conduit, but this is exactly what happened at Terra and what happened to the other traitor Primarch. So, um, this whole thing seems to be a review of what we already know, or simply confirms what we already know based from other sources.
The word bearers wanted to bait the loyalists to this moon, show them that Chaos still existed, which would then force the loyalists to hunt down the traitors. The Iron Warriors didn't want that to happen as they wanted to live, and they started to think Chaos was actually pretty gay. See, there was a huge division within the loyalist Primarchs. Rogel wanted to hunt the traitors, which is what Chaos wanted. Guilliman wanted to consolidate and rebuild, which is what Chaos didn't want. So Chaos wanted to show itself and force people to side with Rogel. Then something unexpected happened. The Wordbearer moon was attacked. However, it was attacked by Perturabo, who wiped them out, then literally smooth paved the entire moon so that nothing remained. It was done in a way that said, yes, there was something here, now it is gone, lick my balls.
Again,
Rogel.
earlier I thought that one earlier would have been I honestly couldn't decide because to me this looks Angron-ish, but yeah. So apparently this is Perturabo. Still can't distinguish them like, you know, when they show up in the picture. Still can't tell the difference between them.
Dawn. Probably the most Perturabo thing to do imaginable. See, Purdy didn't want Chaos to recover too quickly. He decided he was going to master it and make it his bitch, and he wanted to do it on his own time frame. So what actually happened when Horus died? Chaos copped the biggest kick to its balls it's had in over 60 million years. The Emperor seriously fucked them up, which is nice to know as it did feel like, for a while, that the Emperor was a raging empire against an inevitable darkness. But now, fuck that, the Emperor spanked that darkness hard. Whoopsh. It also explains why in the current setting he seems to be just as powerful as them, if not more so. The dude was a Chad in life and is a monstrous tormented god in death, both of which are generally considered to be quite good at being anti-chaos. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, pick up the Iron Morlock. This is the special major mini launch I'm doing in collaboration with the Remembrancer to help him recoup lost revenue from YouTube screwing him over. 50% of the profit goes to him, and you legends have already made him thousands of dollars, so let's keep it up. Hit the subscribe button, hit the real
Again, you guys, like it if you do.
Subscribe button for more shit content. Join us for more memes on the next one. Peace.
Bye!